In the 19th century, archaeologists come across the foundation walls of a planned settlement, Set Ma'at, the place of truth, today known as Deir el-Medina. This is where between 1500 and 1000 BC, the craftsmen charged with constructing the rock tombs live. They left countless clay shards with sketches of everyday scenes. A mother breastfeeding. A woman dressing herself in front of a mirror. A boy herding a pig. And a farmer driving a cow in front of him. Inscribed pottery shards found in an ancient trash pit provide information about the settlement's water supply.
The ancient Egyptians were aware about the importance of water. We have indications already from the Old Kingdom that there were copper pipes used, but only on a very narrow scale. The ancient Egyptians used donkeys to transport the precious water in water jars over sometimes hundreds of kilometers to the places where the people would live.
It's an elaborate system that works well for a millennium and a half. Royal officials meticulously watch over allocation and consumption. Such clay jars used to carry drinking water have also been found in another ancient workers' settlement, at Amarna. However, those living here in the 14th century BC aren't meant to build rock tombs, but an entire new capital. Between the ancient capitals of Memphis and Thebes, the city of Akhet Aton will rise on the east bank of the Nile, where the sun appears on the horizon. Such is the wish of Akhenaten, who wants to found his rule on a new religious concept.
Akhenaten is one of the best-known characters from ancient Egypt. Akhenaten put the sun god Aten into a very important and prominent position. He was completely against the Amun priests and the cult of Amun because they had become so wealthy, so important, and so powerful that they were really challenging the kingship. And also perhaps he did have a religious revelation and he decided that they had to go. But we will never really know the right answer.
It's a break with all that has hitherto been high and holy to the Egyptians. Under Akhenaten, there shall be only one ruler, and only one god, Aten, the solar disk hovering over all. Akhenaten wants a radical new beginning. Even his intended capital is not based on an existing settlement. It literally breaks new ground. Rock reliefs describe the ambitious project like ancient construction site signs. I am building Akhenaten on the side of the sunrise, a site chosen by the god Aten himself.
He left all of these stelae that in fact tell us about why he chose this place and how he chose it. And basically it was a place where the sun rose in a very particular way in front of the horizon, and also because he said that it was basically a virgin site. It had no history of other gods. And so this is where he built his capital dedicated to the Aten and said that I am in fact never going to leave this area ever again.
In just 3 years, the entire city is built. Akhenaten, a new capital for 50,000 subjects, begun in the 5th year of Akhenaten's reign, and as it's handed down, completed in his 8th year on the throne. In the center rises the new sanctuary, the Temple of Aten, next to the great palace of the ruler. Reliefs on the wall show the royal couple in prayer. Yet the new cult does not endure. Following his death, Akhenaten is outlawed as a heretic, and his capital is abandoned, only 12 years after its completion. For researchers, it's a stroke of luck, since, unlike Memphis and Thebes, Akhenaten was never built over. As the center of the sun cult, it's an architectural peculiarity and provides unique insights into ancient Egyptian urban development.
Until then, residential buildings in pharaonic Egypt were built of mud bricks. But here we see how, in the large villas, in the houses of important and rich people, bricks give way to stone. We have magnificent entrances, columns in the main reception rooms, or window grills, all made of stone. This clearly sets aside these houses from those of simpler people.
For the nobility, you have some very wonderful villas with their own little temples and wells and ponds and places for their cattle and their weaving and this, that, and the other. So you really have larger things, which are almost like estates, but shrunk down. And then in between and around them are smaller houses which one suspects belong to people who were associated with the main house. So you get this idea of someone important and dependents circling around, and you get all kinds of levels of people, because we know that there are people who are sculptors who have their houses as well as their workshops, people who are butchers, bakers, police officers, as well as, of course, all the members of the court elite.
Increasing use of stone in construction is a challenge for Akhenaten's builders. Until now, houses have been built either from air-dried mud bricks or, like the pyramids, from large individually matched blocks of stone. Yet Akhenaten is in a hurry, so a new revolutionary construction method is needed. Instead of the time-consuming process of matching the stones, in Akhenaten, one-size-fits-all blocks are used, called talatat. They're easy to stack and to transport. Thanks to these ancient Egyptian precursors of today's industrial bricks, the new city can be built in record time. The talatat from Akhenaten's time are sought after as building material, and thus recycled in the temples of Thebes as filling material. Akhenaten is not the only pharaoh who wants to create a monument for himself by ordering a new capital to be built. More than 50 years after his death, one of the most famous of all pharaohs takes up his reign. Ramses II. He not only reigns longer than any other pharaoh, over an impressive span of 66 years, he also becomes the undisputed master builder of ancient Egypt. With the Ramesseum in Thebes, he creates a monument for eternity. And it's during his reign that the famous rock temple of Abu Simbel is built. Yet of his capital, built in the 13th century BC on the Nile Delta, hardly anything remains. The city of Pi-Ramessa is known mainly thanks to the Old Testament. It's said that from here Moses led his people from Egyptian captivity.
Pi-Ramessa was founded foremost as a military settlement, not merely as a residence. We're here in an extremely good strategic location, on an island in the easternmost arm of the Nile, about a day's journey away from the Mediterranean. So the city is well protected from any enemy. And if the enemy approaches across the sea, you have about a day before his army can reach the city.
well protected and at the same time ideally located for campaigns into neighboring kingdoms. This is how Ramses II had planned it. An animation shows Pi Ramesse with extensive residential quarters, consisting of small huts standing close together, individual houses, and magnificent villas. On the north bank, there is the huge temple district. And inside the walls is the camp of a potent army.
In der Stadt selbst finden wir
In the city, there was a great number of military facilities, as our excavations have shown.
auch durch die Grabung nachweisen können. Dazu gehören eben
There are stables for the horses of the chariots,
Pferde der Streitwagen,
but also a kind of drill yard for charioteers, as well as workshops, which is certainly related to the production of things needed by the military.
militärischer Güter in Zusammenhang zu bringen sind.
Ancient sources confirm the military importance of the city. Pi Ramesse serves as a mustering place for infantry, as a garrison for chariots, and provides a port for the navy. Yet only 200 years on, in about 1100 BC, the city is abandoned. The reasons are not known, but there are clues.
Ein plausibler Erklärungsversuch
One plausible explanation is that the branch of the Nile where Pi Ramesse was located silted up, and since the Nile was the lifeline of ancient Egypt and the main traffic route, the capital was inconceivable in a place that was cut off from the Nile.
Under Ramses II, Egypt enjoys internal peace for almost 50 years. However, the pharaoh's empire is threatened from the outside. While mighty fortress cities secure the Nile Valley in the south, foreign invaders prove dangerously active in the north. Around 1600 BC, foreign rulers, called Hyksos in Egyptian, bring the Nile Delta under their control for the first time. About 1,000 years later, it's the turn of the Persians. They make Lower Egypt a province of their empire. Then in 332 BC, a conqueror from northern Greece ushers in a new era. Alexander the Great. When his father dies, the 20-year-old prince takes over the throne. That same year, he leads his first campaign. He then moves against the Persian Empire and defeats its king. The path to Egypt is clear. In monumental reliefs, Alexander has himself immortalized as victor over the Persians and as rightful ruler over Egypt, blessed by the Egyptian gods.
Alexander quite consciously sought to project a counter-image to Persian rule over Egypt by placing himself in local traditions, and this certainly resulted in him being regarded by the Egyptians as a kind of liberator.
His name remains forever associated with the founding of a new city on the Mediterranean Sea. Alexandria. It's built according to Greek models in a checkerboard pattern. Soon it eclipses even ancient Athens. Around the time of Christ's birth, it's the second largest city in the world after Rome, with an estimated population of 300,000. Its landmark can be seen from afar, the Pharos of Alexandria, one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world, shown here according to ancient descriptions.
Estimates of its height vary between 110 and 160 meters. If the latter were correct, the pharaohs would have been higher than most Gothic cathedrals. It's not impossible, but probably a height of about 110 meters will be correct.
Yet Alexandria is nothing special when it's founded. A typical Greek colonial city, like many on the Mediterranean. This changes only after Alexander's death. Ptolemy, one of his generals, has the king's body transferred to Alexandria, and thus legitimizes himself as successor to the ruler's throne. Thus, Ptolemy establishes the last pharaonic dynasty of ancient Egypt. Alexandria, where Alexander the Great is presumed to have his final resting place, experiences a massive boom. Greeks and Macedonians come to the city in large numbers. The who's who of intellectual antiquity gathers in the world-famous library.